Bash Bunny extensions, all that and more this time on Hak5.
Hello and welcome to Hak5. My name is Darren Kitchen.
I love that he walks in every single time. My name is Shannon Morse.
It's your weekly dose of technolust.
You're so weird.
I'm just going to look at you instead of the cameras this week.
No, that's weird.
I know, right?
Look at the viewers.
But what if we break the fourth wall and look at them?
We always do
You
that.
can see, oh my gosh, look at the timeline on this video. Or I guess it would be over
We're
here.
not like House of Cards.
It would be over there.
It would be...
It would be, it's so confusing. I love the old videos on YouTube that are like, comment over here and click subscribe over there. And you're all like, dude, none of those things are anywhere that you're pointing anywhere.
Well,
and then annotations
let me think.
disappear.
You can click up there at the card.
Yeah.
See the little eye icon? Click on those little buttons.
No. And
all right, so
kick us off.
We should probably kick it off. In the past few Bash Bunny segments that we have been covering, we basically just been getting into the basics, but we really only have been scratching the surface. So in this episode, we decided that we would cover some of the nitty-gritty commands and extensions. But first, let's do a quick review. We know the basic commands are attack mode, quack, and LED. So attack mode tells the bunny what USB devices to emulate, like Linux or Windows Ethernet or Serial, or read-write and read-only storage, or HID and combinations thereof.
Or many more in the future, potentially.
Right, exactly. And then quack, or Q, interprets ducky script. So this is when you inject keystrokes when using a HID or human interface device attack mode. And then of course there's LED, which controls, obviously, the LEDs. So you can specify a color and pattern like LED B100 or LED R100 to make it blink red or blue every 100 milliseconds. Or you can do LED M slow to make it blink magenta slowly, which is my favorite.
Because it's like pink?
Because it's like, it's close
Almost
to my
pink.
color.
It's magenta.
It's close to my color.
Purple. I wonder if we can recreate that. Actually, I like the LED states. I actually have this one blinking red as that example. I don't know how well that'll come out, but you can see it.
Yes.
Here, why don't you hold that right there? Because what I'm going to do is show you guys, if you do LED setup, then it's magenta. You could also do LED fail, and it blinks red.
Oh, yep.
And LED attack.
Yep.
And it'll blink yellow, and LED cleanup, and it'll go white, and LED finish. I love this one. LED finish does this really cool, like, right? And then it's green, so you know it's a hack machine. And I just wanted to show you guys those. You could just type in LED to get all of those commands and see what all of the different states are. But essentially, I wanted to show you that. Bloop, bloop, bloop. There you go. Now you can see it all. And we recommend those basically so that all the developers use those standard states. It makes it really easy and consistent so that as a user, you can look at any payload and know kind of what it's doing.
So anyway, for the most part, those are the basic commands, but there are actually a whole bunch of other ones using extensions. So when you update your Bash Bunny, either manually or by downloading from Git or simply using the Bunny Updater program, you will notice an extensions directory in the payloads folder. Now these extensions are basically new commands that can be used in any payload, and just like the open source payloads on Git, again, anybody can contribute. So Darren, let's go over some extensions, shall we?
So we've used this one in the past, and it's called run, and I can just basically show you, but essentially what run does is allow you to quickly and easily get into the run dialog, which basically simplifies injecting keystrokes into a computer's run dialog, which is very common process for any attack mode that uses HID. And what it does is it accepts an argument for the operating system like Win or OS X. So as an example here, I'll just pull up my blank payload. I could do, for instance, attack mode. Oh, actually, I do LED setup, and then attack mode, HID.
Fancy.
So fancy. And then I could, if I wanted to, like against a Windows target, do GUI R, and then I would have to delay 500 milliseconds to wait for that run line to pop up, right?
Yeah.
Because it's got that cute little arrow fade in action. Then I could do string something nefarious like notepad.
So nefarious.
And then enter, right?
Right.
Or I could reduce the entire thing to run win notepad.
Ah,
right?
nice.
So similarly, you could do the same thing on OS X by doing GUI, by specifying run Mac, or sorry, not run Mac, run OS X or for OS X, and that'll bring up Spotlight on a Mac.
Ah,
yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, I gotta say, when I actually wrote this, I'm doing a little update to it now. We can see if I pull up the run sh payload, I've just kind of like hacked this on at the end. Originally, I added the option here for Unity, which would do an Alt F2 thing. But then, of course, Unity being the Ubuntu window manager, or formerly at least. But as it turns out, it doesn't work against just Unity and GNOME. It seems to work against a lot of them.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. We actually got a really good comment on episode 2301 from Robert Bledsaw. So he said, I've checked and verified that Alt F2 is a feature that runs on all major desktop environments and every minor one I looked into. Here's the compatible ones I've found so far. GNOME, KDE, Unity, Cinnamon, UDE, Lumina, EDE, Budgie, Razer Qt, XFCE, LXDE, Mate, LXQT, Enlightenment, and Pantheon. Now, in searching these, I have noticed that many of the minor ones have had bugs with Alt F2 not working. But in essence, it would appear that Alt F2 is a universal Linux GUI shortcut.
That's awesome.
That's awesome!
Also, shout out to XFCE.
Yes.
But hey, really cool stuff.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Especially when you pair it with that Xterm TAC-E that I showed off the other week, where you can make it invisibly run in the background.
That was very cool.
Assuming Xterm's there.
So fun.
Next extension, because we got to run through these. So we're done with run. Let's talk about the ducky lang. All right, I'm going to paint a scenario here for you, Snubs.
Okay, I'm ready.
Imagine you are on an engagement that takes you all the way to Germany, and you've just landed in Berlin because it's way cooler than Frankfurt, and you've got this great payload ready to go on switch position 1, and you're just going to pop down by the client site and pwn them up a bit, and then grab yourself a doner kebab, and then grab a club mate, and just be off, right? I mean, your day couldn't get any better at that point.
Well, I feel like if I was in Germany, I would have to get a brat.
Some Nurembergers or
Nurembergers.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Maybe if you get a chance, actually, you want to go to Munich, because that's where you get to the Hofbräuhaus, like we do.
The legit Hofbräuhaus?
The legit one, not like that one in Vegas.
I know I'm not saying it right in German, but whatever.
That's okay. See, here is the problem with the computers in Germany. They're all expecting Germans. Specifically German keyboards, where everything is backwards, like Shift 2 instead of making that sign makes quotation marks, and then there's like umlauts everywhere, and everything is dressed up in like a dirndl or a lederhosen. And
for real?
Yeah, I'm probably exaggerating about the last bit. But regardless, if your payload quacks, meaning if it's injecting keystrokes with that hit attack mode, then you need to specify the language. By default, it's US. But thankfully, it couldn't be easier than just running literally boop, boop, boop in my test payload here. We're going to take this nefarious Windows payload, and I would do this in the setup portion. I would do ducky underscore lang space DE.
Oh.
There you go. And if I was going to France, I would do FR. And
France.
You get the idea.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it actually works really well alongside this next extension. So similarly, there is an awesome extension from El Kentaro, hi El Kentaro, konnichiwa, that instead of making the bunny type in the language the computer is expecting, it changes the computer to the language of the bunny.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, so you could do set KB start, and it would inject a little PowerShell that sets the computer to a US keyboard layout, and then at the end of your payload, you could just do set KB done, and it goes back to whatever it was set to before. So it's a pretty cool way to troll your friends.
I love that extension.
I would love to do that to like a Japanese keyboard. Just stick the set KB on there, and people would be like, "Why am I typing out in English letters? I don't understand."
Actually, there's not undocumented. If you look at thankfully, these are all Bash scripts, and like all scripts should be, it is commented, so you can actually see that if you do a set KB with a keyboard layout, you can just override whatever it is. So you could make a payload that all it does is you plug it into your computer and set it to a Japanese keyboard layout.
That is so funny.
Or Dvorak. I don't know if it actually supports that, but that would be cool. Go PowerShell.
I love it. That's so great.
Yeah.
Thank you, El Kentaro.
Hey, you know what? There's also, sometimes I like to write really advanced payloads, and there's a ton of them out there because the cool thing about the Bash Bunny, right? It's a full Linux box. So you can run all of these different tools. You've got like Impact and Responder. I mean, you could put it on a full Metasploit install. We do recommend everybody install those to /tools, which is what our tool installer does, essentially, so that they're all, easily referenced with an absolute path. Point is, if your tools are in /tools, you can actually, when writing a payload, you don't know if somebody has this tool installed, you can check for that prerequisite. You just need to specify that in a payload using the required tool extension, And if it's not there, it'll gracefully fail instead of like blurting a bunch of
That's
stuff all
neat.
over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Well, if I were writing a payload that required InPacket, I would just come in here and I would just say in my setup phase, and actually right after attack mode, just best practices, I should do LED attack. So everybody knows that, oh yeah, this is where the attack is starting.
Nice.
Oh yeah. And then after that notepad, we'll do a LED finish. So you know like, oh yeah, we've totally pwned them.
Lovely.
But yeah, right up in here, I would do a require tool InPacket.
Okay.
Or whatever,
and
right?
that stays in the setup phase as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what's going to happen is it's going to check to see if there's a responder directory in /tools. And if there is, it's just going to continue. And if there's not, instead of continuing on with my nefarious attack here, it's actually going to stop the payload and blink red.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
How useful. All right, let's talk about get.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've used this in the past, but let's get into what is actually doing. It's another awesome extension, and it allows you to specify an argument, and it'll give you back, it'll export a similarly named variable that you can then use in your payload.
Cool.
So as an example here, I could do get space target underscore IP. In fact, I'll actually pull up that particular payload. Let's see. Where are my extensions? It was in the other folder. There we go. So we've got the get extension. And you can see what this is. It's just when I do a get target IP, right? It's actually going to give me the output of this. Oops, not zcat. I'm sure that is a
Just
command
cat.
though. Just cat. And I'll just plug this into, because I'm SSH'd into my Bash Bunny here. So I'll do that, and it's cat. And it's, you're reminding me of Kirby right now. So it's checking the DHCP lease, it's grepping for the lease, it's awking for that thing, it's sorting, it's getting a unique thing. Anyway, point is, what it does is it gives you the IP address that the victim got from the Bash Bunny from its DHCP server.
Yes.
Right? So if you're using an Ethernet attack, you can then store that in a $target underscore IP. So if you wanted to, like here, I'll give you a quick example using like, I don't know, to make a simple payload here. Instead of doing attack mode, we're going to take out that, we're going to replace it with RNDIS Ethernet. Now this is a Windows-centric network payload.
Oh, that's great.
And in our attack function, we're going to run nmap, right? And we're going to do nmap, and well, we need to know its IP address first. So we'll do nmap, right? Tac S, capital V, and then we need to know its IP address. So we could just assume it's going to be 172.16.64.10.
10.
But that's bad practice to hard code that, right?
Right.
So what we'll do is do get target underscore IP, and then here we just replace this bit with $target underscore IP. There you go.
That's cool.
Right?
Okay, well, what about if you want to get the host IP instead?
You mean the IP address of the bunny
Of
itself?
the bunny, yeah.
So again, talking about hard-coded, that there is like a hard-coded IP address of the Bash Bunny. I mean, if I do if config here, you'll see that it is 172.16.64.1. But again, hard coding, you're right, is a bad practice. So we did.
As a user, you might want to change this.
You
or
could.
as the attacker, I
As
guess.
the attack. Yeah, you could make it a 10 dot or a 192 dot something or whatever you want, right? So if you if you're worried that the potential user of your payload may do that and you require the IP address of the Bash Bunny itself, similarly, you just do get underscore
host IP?
Host IP.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
That's useful.
Yeah, and it's just, it's best practices. So if somebody changes their IP scheme for whatever reason, there you go.
So it's really fun to mess with IPs and find them with the different get variables. But what if you have multiple different targets and you need to be able to easily navigate which one is which? Is there a way to like get the name?
Like if you're saving the log files or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there is actually a get target underscore host name.
I knew it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think you read ahead.
I might
Basically, that is an extension. That's a part of the extension that will export a variable with the name of the computer. So,
The
for
victim's
instance,
computer.
Exactly. So on this computer right here, if I do who am I, it says that my computer's name is desktop-sadddarq, right? And yours is probably called Snubs PC or something like that, right?
How'd you know?
Yeah.
Did you do this on my computer?
No, not yet, but stick around. You're typically going to get those from Windows boxes. Every now and then it will not give you something.
Because DHCP fun times?
Either DHCP funtimes or the computer just doesn't pass it along to the DHCP server. But for the most part, most of the time, you're going to get this. And it's great for naming log files, like you said. So if we actually go back here to our nmap, right? Let's make this payload even better. At the end here, so this is just going to spit out into the console on the Bash Bunny the nmap scan of the victim computer, right? It's going to do a little port scan. If you just do a little waka waka to output that to a file, we could name that file, say target_hostname.txt.
Oh, that's
now,
cool.
That's going to fail for one reason.
Why?
Because we didn't get it. Get space target_hostname. There you go.
Yes, yes.
Right?
You need to make sure it's actually calling that host name beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. I feel like I should do that to my husband.
You should definitely troll your husband. I mean, if you love your husband, you should troll your husband.
I'll just stick a Bash Bunny in his computer, and then I'll email him the text file and be like, look what I found. This was on the internet.
Oh my gosh.
He'd be like, what?
Yes.
I need to set up 2FA. Yes, finally.
Oh, hey, right? It's amazing what
Just scare him into
what tactics you can use to get people
that's
to up their
horrible.
security, right?
right.
Okay, finally, let's move because we're going long on this episode. I want to talk about the last two. Switch position.
Switch position, yes. So this one exports either switch 1, switch 2, or switch 3, depending on the position of the switch. So this is really useful in determining which folder your payload has run from.
Yeah, okay, so this is a little weird because you would kind of like expect, like, what are you talking about? Obviously, it's running from, I've got this payload.txt.
You would assume it's in the right switch mode.
Right, like this.
Folder, that is.
This folder right here is d:// for my Bash Bunny. Yours is going to be different. The payload's directory is /switch1, right? So when my payload runs, like, haha, that awesome stuff is going to happen. But what if I also want to do, like, call another script? Like, what if I have a script in here called coolstuff.sh, right? Well, in Linux, I would just do that. And then over here, I would just put, a new text file called coolstuff.sh, right? And now it's going to run that.
Right.
Except it won't, because in all actuality, the payload.txt doesn't run from the mass storage. I'm looking at it right now from the setup mode, where the Bash Bunny is showing up as a thumb drive. But that mass
when
storage,
you switch it,
yeah, it doesn't actually run the payload.txt from there. It runs it from a different working directory. So when you do /coolstuff.sh, it's going to be like, sorry, dog, there's no.
It's not here.
It's not here. So you actually have to specify it. Now, you can actually specify it even if it's on the mass storage partition, because that's available to the payload when it runs, but you have to use the absolute path.
Okay.
So this is why we're getting into these nitty-gritty, because these are the things that might get you.
Might screw you up.
So in this case, what we would actually do, where is it actually? It's in my payload /switch1. I would do /root/udisk, because that's the directory of the USB drive, /payloads/switch1. There you go, /coolstuff.
Right.
There you go.
Okay, so that's great, but what if it got moved? Like, what if it's not in switch 1?
Oh, so like, what if I write this payload?
What if you don't know?
Yeah, so I write this payload and I hard code it to switch 1, then you go and use it and you put it on switch 2?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's like a reoccurring theme here, and I think it has to do with like hard coding things.
Yes.
Bad. Yeah. So what you actually do is you can get the switch position, and then you can just use it as $switch position. So that would end up looking like get switch _position. And then here, you would just replace switch 1 with $switch
position
_ position.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I love Notepad++. How great is that? There you go.
We should probably find out about my favorite one because it is lunchtime and I'm hungry. Let's talk about cucumber.
Let's talk about some vegetables. Right. This is actually one of my favorite extensions here, and it's the cucumber, and it controls the CPU. It actually controls the CPU governor, which is quite handy for thermal reasons.
Really?
Yeah. So like the Bash Bunny, I mean, in all actuality, it's a pretty hardcore box. It's an ARM quad-core CPU up to 1.3 gigahertz, so it's really fast.
Yeah.
And we want it to be discrete. We want it to look like a thumb drive. So, we're
it's
playing
in this little plastic case.
Right. Well, that plastic case is actually high temp plastics, and there's a gel in here. It's a special compound for the thermal stuff, and it keeps everything running smoothly. But for the most part, payloads only run for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like not that big of a deal. It's not going to get like super hot. And actually, you can run this for hours and hours on end, as I do writing payloads and stuff, because the default is to use an on-demand performance mode.
It's warm. It's not crazy hot or anything.
No, and it shouldn't be. However, this is really good to note For instance, if you wanted to leave a payload plugged in indefinitely,
Right.
say like, as an example, what if you plug it in behind a computer, like an old school tower with like a big fan and there's like exhaust, beating down on this thing, right? You don't want the thing to melt, right? That's going to be bad. So you can actually limit the performance and get some better thermal properties out of it, get it to run cool as a cucumber, by running cucumber space enable. And you can literally just I would put this in the, before the attack.
Okay.
I would do in the setup phase, I would do cucumber space enable. Oh yeah. And actually I just realized all of these should probably be in my setup phase because,
Yeah.
payload best practices here. Oh yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, you get the idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would make it slower though, right?
It does. I mean, for single core operations.
Right, of course.
It's for single core operations, it's not going to change anything. If you've got a multi-threaded app, then yeah.
But I would assume that most of the things that you are doing on the Bash Bunny aren't going to be multi-threaded applications. Like, you're not going to be editing videos.
it depends. Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be editing videos, I would hope. I mean, I don't know, maybe you can. But now I'm thinking about all the ways that you could actually offload video editing to it. But it's probably not what you typically want to do with it. Most of the stuff you're doing is single-threaded, actually. Like Metasploit uses a bunch of Python and Perl and Ruby scripts, and all of those run However, if you do have a multi-threaded application, not video editing, you could get all the horsepower out of it using Cucumber. You could skip ludicrous speed and go all the way to Cucumber Plaid.
Oh, you did not just go there.
I did. So you just bloop, 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 Cucumber enable. Nope. Let's Cucumber Plaid.
That's hilarious.
Boom.
Oh my gosh, you're such a dork.
Puts it into high performance mode.
Okay, so lastly, we should probably talk about config.txt, right?
Yeah. Okay, so all of these things that I've been talking about right now, I mean, this is a living, breathing Bash Bunny beast, right? And a lot of these things are going to continuously change, right? So we're just showing you the extensions that are available now. You can contribute your own.
You should.
Yep, GitHub, just like you would any other payload. And it's cool because if you make an extension, then other people can use that extension to make their payloads better.
Yes.
But I do want to talk about that config.txt.
Okay.
Okay, so remember how I said like, oh, you're gonna go on that mission over to Germany, right? And you're gonna like totally own up that client.
Yeah, totes.
Well, my goats. And then you get another client, and they're in France. And now you got to go through and change all your payloads over to French.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Right. So get this: at the very root of your Bash Bunny, on not payloads, just in the root directory here, you get this config.txt, and this is where you can globally change those configurations.
Oh, cool.
Right?
So it's just like setting an alias in Bash RC.
It's kind of like a Bash RC for your Bash Bunny, yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And you can
like
do
it.
any of the extensions that we talked about in here. So, for instance, that ducky_lang, you could set it to FR for French, and now all of your payloads are going to be French. Likewise, you could do Cucumber, enable, or disable, or plaid. And
pretty much whatever you want.
Whatever you want, because this is basically, it's a Bash file that gets run before all of the other payloads run.
Ah, that's so cool.
Yeah, just keep in mind, like any other command, though, it can be overwritten. You can run ducky_lang multiple times. So if you first set it to US and then somebody else's has theirs hard coded to DE inside the payload.
So if you hard code it in the payload, it will overwrite what you have in config.txt.
Yeah, remember when I said there's a lot of best practices in this episode? Best practice: don't hard code stuff.
Yes, very important.
Yeah, that's just a little tip from me to you.
That's so useful. And if you guys are wondering about Bash RC files and how you can edit those, check out my hack tips. I've gone over those in much detail.
That's good stuff.
I think that's it for now. I know this was super long, but we both wanted to make sure that we covered all the awesome extensions that add functionality to the Bash Bunny because there's so much that you can do with it. It's super, super fun.
And it's like a great learning tool for like getting into Linux. I know that, for instance, the Wi-Fi pineapple for me was actually a gateway drug into like a lot more Linux than I was used to, and it was a fantastic experience.
Same here.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just want to lay that groundwork because this is an episode that we can always reference and be like, boom, get your Bash Bunny on, learn all of the ins and outs of extensions with this one episode, and carry on. I'm looking forward to what you guys think would make cool extensions, so let us know in the comments. And
make sure to contribute to the GitHub too, and we might feature yours on the show. Right.
In fact, I have a couple of payloads that we're going to be featuring here real soon, and hooking everybody up with $100 gift certificates for their contributions.
That's
in fact,
awesome.
we should do that for El Cantaro, who did a extension.
Yes.
So boom, just on the fly, figured that one out.
Yay.
That makes sense.
Thank you, Alcantara. Again.
Thank you, Alcantara. Here's a gift certificate.
And for everybody else there, you can always contribute over at hakshop.com. That's where you can find all of our Hak5 gear to pick up, including Wi-Fi pineapples, bash bunnies, USB rubber duckies, everything else. And if you're interested in the shows, you can also check out hak5.org. That's where we put all of our different YouTube shows. And make sure to subscribe. It really does actually help us a lot whenever you subscribe to those videos. And that way you can keep up to date with everything that is going on over here at the Hak5 studios.
Yes. Oh, and you know what? If you're at hak5.org, look for some event information. If you're available on October 13th and if you're in the Bay Area, you may want to RSVP. Just saying, cool stuff coming.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, tentatively. I hope nothing changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put up the event page after we record.
The only thing that could change this is if like things get held in customs. But anyway.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right?
It's always possible.
That's always fun. We should do a backstage podcast of all the ridiculous fun that we have here.
Well, we're here throughout October, so it'll be sometime in October.
It's going to be a good time.
Oh, I'm so excited about that.
Yay! Okay, cool. Well, with all of that,
I think we're done.
Thanks.
We have some stickers to set up, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up, but we'll put these up afterwards.
Sticker montage. Oh, hey, before we get going, Shannon, I actually need to apologize to you and I guess the whole audience. Last week, or was it the week before, I made that stupid XKCD joke about sudo make me a sandwich, and I kind of feel bad about this because I didn't realize I was actually perpetuating a stereotype. I'm sorry, Shannon.
Thanks for that.
The sudo make me a sandwich thing, I didn't realize was actually sexist, and I kind of consider myself an ally.
Thanks.
So
I really appreciate that.
Let's not
That's totally chill of you. Yeah. You're a total male ally. I really appreciate you saying that.
Guys, we got to make this
I mean, I thought it was
friendly.
funny, but that's because I've known you for so long, so I know you were making a joke. But if you were a stranger, I'd just be like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I always thought that it was like from the perspective of the computer making the sandwich, but it's like, no, dude. That's a sexist joke, and we should stop saying those because we want this community to flourish.
Sometimes I say it to my husband.
Well, that's because your husband's a little, hey, with that, my name's Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Moore.
Trust your Technolust. You can follow Snubs Hub on Twitter. If you've got a great idea, you should do what Shannon and I do and head over to domain.com and register your domain. Bring it over to the internet using this super awesome discovery system that brings domains from your mind onto the web. Over at domain.com. They've got a quick and easy checkout process, and they've been supporting Hak5 for years. You can also tweet at them at domain.com and say, hey, thanks for hooking up the guys, and they've got a special treat just for you. You get to save 20% off at checkout over at domain.com using the super secret coupon code. It's HAK5. It spells Hak5, and it's just between you and I, all right? Don't tell anyone. Okay, you can tell people. When you think domain names, think domain.com. Snubs Hubs.
Tell him I'm talking about him on the show.
Yeah, he doesn't watch Hak5, does
Nope.
he? Yeah. Neither does my, I was going to say my husband.
I don't know who wears the pants.
Oh no,
Who wears the pants?
My watch is going to start watching me.
Yeah, those are from Vis. I have a bunch of
Pinky.
little ones.
Gotta love the Pinky. Dude, Phobos does great stuff. Ooh, this one's from Armitage. No, it's not from Armitage.
No, that's
I saw an
Animecons.
anime character and I thought it was Armitage. Stuck off.
That's Patrick Delahanty's.
Oh, Animecons TV. Oh, I've seen this. I've seen episodes of this. It's a cool podcast.
It's very cool. I was on it a few times, reviewing conventions that we went to. Right there. It says make hacking great again. Oh, we already have one up there. Whatever.
Do we? All right, well, we can get a double. Warning, may contain dormant cyber pathogens.